All right, good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for being here today, just to cover the incident that happened here in Fargo today. I'm Captain Brian Newen. I'm the Southeast Regional Commander with the North Dakota Highway Patrol. Joining me today is Chief Dave Zabalski with the Fargo Police Department. This incident involved both of our agencies with a couple different crime scenes, so that's why we're both here today. We're here tonight to provide some information about an officer-involved shooting that occurred on I-29 in Fargo at about 5:13 p.m. this evening. It occurred on the northbound I-29 to eastbound I-94 off-ramp is the location of the officer-involved shooting. To kind of back up there to how this all started, at approximately 4:50 p.m., the North Dakota Highway Patrol received a report of a hit-and-run injury crash that occurred on I-29 at mile marker 64 in the southbound roadway. That crash involved a blue Chevy Silverado pickup and a motorcycle. The rider on that motorcycle suffered life-threatening injuries in that crash, and the Chevy Silverado fled that crash scene southbound on I-29. At approximately 5:10 p.m. is when the North Dakota Highway Patrol was made aware of a shots fired call in the general area of Essentia Hospital in South Fargo. Troopers were responding to that incident when we learned that there was a blue Chevy Silverado pickup that was fleeing from that shots fired called incident. One of our troopers was on 32nd Avenue, observed the Chevy Silverado traveling westbound on 32nd Avenue towards I-29. That trooper attempted a traffic stop of that vehicle. That vehicle matched the description of the hit and run crash that occurred at 4:50 p.m. on I-29. With the description of the vehicle was identical, and there was damage consistent with the crash on that Chevy Silverado. That Chevy Silverado did flee that traffic stop northbound on I-29 from 32nd Avenue and then exited towards eastbound I-94. As it was traveling up the off-ramp to eastbound I-94, the Chevy Silverado struck another vehicle, crashed into another vehicle. Both of those vehicles left the roadway, entered the gore area where they both became disabled. Immediately upon that Chevy Silverado entering the gore area and becoming disabled, there was a male that exited that vehicle and began to started shooting rounds from a weapon. I don't have the exact type of weapon, but there was a weapon used where the male was shooting rounds off as he exited the vehicle. There was a trooper that was on scene there that was a part of that pursuit and returned fire, striking the male suspect 2 times with 2 rounds. And the suspect did go down and then was taken into custody by the trooper and Fargo police officers that had now arrived on scene. That male was provided medical care, was transported to Sanford Hospital in Fargo by FM Sanford ambulance, where he's being treated for non-life-threatening injuries. He was recently released from the hospital and transported to the Cass County Jail. The officer-involved shooting today, involving the North Dakota State Trooper, is being investigated by the Bureau of Criminal Investigation here in North Dakota. That's standard operating procedure for our agency. Anytime we have a officer-involved shooting, the Bureau of Criminal Investigation is the agency that does that investigation. The trooper has been placed on administrative leave, which is normal business practices for any law enforcement agencies when an officer is involved in a shooting. And he'll be on administrative leave until it's been reviewed by the BCI and the Cass County State's Attorney's Office. The Fargo Police Department is investigating the shots fired incident that occurred in the vicinity of Essentia Hospital. The North Dakota Highway Patrol is investigating both of the crashes that occurred on I-29. The initial crash that happened at 4:50 p.m. on I-29 southbound at mile marker 64, involving the Chevy Silverado and a motorcycle, and then the last crash that occurred on the northbound I-29 to eastbound I-94 off-ramp that occurred right before the officer-involved shooting. And obviously the BCI is investigating the officer-involved shooting. The occupants of that final crash were uninjured in that crash, but again, that motorcycle rider did suffer life-threatening injuries. The north and southbound lanes of I-29, the off-ramps to go to eastbound I-94 are still closed. The BCI is still on scene processing that crime scene. The North Dakota Transportation, Fargo Police Department, and the Cass County Sheriff's Office have assisted with those road closures. We expect those road closures to be in place for another 1 to 2 hours while that crime scene is being processed. As law enforcement professionals, we swear an oath to serve and protect the public that we serve. The North Dakota Highway Patrol trains our troopers extensively for high-risk incidents, both in our tactics and decision-making. Our agency has a robust program in place to assist our troopers and their families through these difficult times, and the names of those involved will be released at a later time. Chief Sobolski, if you have any comments at all, I'd turn over to you.
No, I think other than to say that we assisted at the scene and conducting the investigation and initial shots fired, which was in the 3100 block of 34th Avenue. And I can just continue to work with the Highway Patrol and BCI in the furtherance of their investigation as well.
And we'd be open to any questions you might have for right now.
Captain, could you give us any information on the trooper, how long he's been there?
That information will be released when we release his name. I don't have his exact time on with the agency at this point in time, no.
I have a quick clarification question. What time was the shots fired call? What time did that come?
Our officers were sent at 5:03 for the shots fired call.
Okay, so the motorcyclist, I just want to establish a timeline here. So the motorcyclist was hit at 450 going southbound, a mile marker 64.
At approximately 4:50 is when our agency received the call.
Okay, so then they must have gone off 32nd Avenue and gone over to the apartment complex where the shots fired call came in shortly after 5.
That's all part of our investigation to figure out exactly what occurred from the time that the initial crash happened to when the shots fired call occurred.
So were the shots fired from the balcony then into the parking lot, or what was going on with the shots fired call?
That's still under investigation. In terms of we got calls that someone was shooting from the balcony of that building, and that they were shooting in the direction of a similarly described vehicle that the suspect was driving.
Do you happen to know how many shots exactly? We kind of got a tip that it was about 30.
Yeah, no, we don't have that information yet. We're still on scene conducting that investigation.
Okay, you also say life-threatening, but we also got a tip that the person died. Can you confirm that?
At this point in time, all I can confirm is that we know that the motorcycle rider has life-threatening injuries, and if that's who you're asking about.
Yes.
Yes.
With the suspect, is there any background? Is he familiar to law enforcement? Do you know anything about that, either Chief or Captain?
Again, that would be part of our investigation. At this point in time, I can't release any information more about the suspect.
This is probably better for Chief Sobolski. Did the suspect live at the apartment? Because obviously they gained access to the building to get out onto the balcony.
Mm-hmm. We're working on confirming that right now, but we believe that to be the case.
So he's local.
And no indication why they were firing from the balcony?
No, not at this time.
Total number of known injuries at this time?
From the initial crash, the motorcycle rider with those life-threatening injuries, obviously the suspect that was struck by gunfire from the North Dakota State Trooper had suffered injuries as well, but he's been treated and released from the hospital.
The officer has not received any injuries?
The officer was not injured in this incident, no.
How many shots were fired from the suspect from the crash scene toward the officer, toward the trooper? I'm assuming the shots were fired toward the trooper.
At this point in time, that's still under investigation. The Bureau of Criminal Investigation is the one investigating the actual shooting incident that happened on scene on I-29.
Troopers don't have body cams, but there would probably be dash cam video.
So our agency, we have dash cam video, so there's a camera in our front windshield, and then we wear body microphones as well. So anything that when we're outside the vehicle, you can hear any of the verbal directions or verbal exchange that is going on outside the vehicle, in addition to that camera footage from the front windshield area.
I imagine that will be released until investigation is complete.
So obviously it's, I haven't watched the video, we haven't had a chance to watch the video. This is still under investigation. The Bureau of Criminal Investigation will receive that video and will be a part of their investigation.
Suspect, fairly local, any age range?
The suspect is 28 years of age, as a male. And the individual is from Fargo.
Can you say where he was shot? He's already been released.
Again, that's part of the investigation. I don't know where he was shot.
When can we expect to learn more about this incident?
In the next 1 or 2 days.
Any last questions, Rudy?
Anything else you'd like to share that we didn't ask you?
not at this time, no.
Thank you all very much. Oh, can you say anything about the driver of the motorcycle, male, female, from the area?
It is a male, and our troopers are still working that crash investigation, so I'll have some more information about that later tonight. I just don't have it in front of me right now because of the other incident that's ongoing.
Are they on scene out there still? Or do
They're no longer on scene, but they're working, just working on the investigation right now.
Any idea what his motive was? I mean,
Again, that'll be a part of our investigation, so at this point in time, it would just be speculation.
any indication if he was under the influence of alcohol or drugs?
Again, I can't answer that question. It's be a part of our investigation.
Any response to the fact that two officer-involved shootings happened? Obviously, you guys are from two different agencies, but you guys have a response of them happening so close to each other.
Obviously, our agency and the Fargo Police Department, we work in conjunction together all the time. We're both law enforcement agencies. We both have different missions that we serve, different areas that we serve the public. But we're out there to protect and serve. And in this case, our officers were responding, both the Fargo Police Department and our agency, to an individual that had harmed somebody else and was shooting rounds off in the vicinity of other people. And that's a danger to the public. So our officers were responding to that. And unfortunately, in this situation, it devolved into a situation where one of our troopers had to take lethal action against somebody. Luckily, in this case, that individual suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Actually has been released from the hospital already, but we've removed that danger from the public, taking that danger off the streets for the time being.
One other clarification. So the first traffic stop on 32nd, that was after the shooting, correct? The first interaction between the trooper and the suspect, that was after the shots fired call or before the shots fired call?
It was after the shots fired call.
And to clarify where the first crash took place, we're going.
It's southbound on I-29, just right by 13th Avenue here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.